Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is allredding.
Hey, Nathan Knudsen, welcome to the allredding podcast. Allow me to give you a proper introduction. You, sir, are the executive director of the Redding Trail Alliance. The Redding Trail Alliance is a nonprofit organization founded 10 years ago now, in 2016, whose mission is to create high-quality trail experiences by advocating for, building, and maintaining trails which are progressive, diverse, and promote our community. So, one of the goals of the allredding podcast is to promote the great stuff that we have and enjoy here, Redding, Shasta County, and the North State. So it sounds like in this promotion of some of the great outdoors and the community, we're perfectly aligned in that way. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me and Redding Trail Alliance on your podcast. We're stoked to hopefully get our story out to some more people.
Yeah. My running coach, Dusty Robinson, says, hey, you got to talk to this guy. And they're up to super cool work. And then I have a background in mountain biking, so it seemed like a great fit. So we're really happy to have you here today.
Nice.
But we got to go back before we go forward. Tell me some history. Somehow a talented graphic designer became the executive director of a nonprofit focused on building trails in the North State. How do we go from here to there?
Well, first off, you're wrong with talented graphic designer. That was my profession, but I wouldn't say I was talented. I enjoyed what I did, but I feel like I am talented, and I enjoy the trail world a lot more. So I found my calling. So how did I get into that? Just a number of different scenarios led down that road. I was working in the graphic design industry. I was employed at Harvest Printing, a local printing company, for I think upwards of 12 years. Left there to pursue a job at a smaller company doing their marketing for them. That didn't really work out. Wasn't a good fit for me. Found that out after about 3 months of working for them. So then all of a sudden I was an adult in my early 30s and first time being unemployed in my entire life. So what do? You need something. So applying for jobs, riding my mountain bike, and then at the same time, my mountain bike broke. And so then all of a sudden I didn't have that outlet. So picked up a pick and a shovel, went out and started building a trail.
Okay. And this, I think, is such a cool part of the story because we had a chance to chat quite a bit before the podcast, a couple weeks ago. This is the punk rock part of building trails. This is the part like from my childhood and whatnot. Like we just knew that we wanted a trail here, and maybe it was youth or maybe it was disrespect or some combination of youthful disrespect. But we would just build them where we wanted them. So you picked up a shovel, grabbed a pick, started building a trail, but maybe it wasn't exactly dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But somewhere you went from there to full, lawful trail building for public benefit. Talk more about that.
Absolutely. Before we go to that, I do want to highlight, you really bring up a unique point about trails. Public trails are really a public amenity, and we just had a trail conference or a local trail summit, and really trails are unique in that they are usually driven to being created and maintained by the people that use them. And you don't have people doing that for public restrooms or drinking fountains. You don't have a summit that gathers people from statewide to talk about drinking fountains. But trails they're just that. They're a public amenity, like a road or a library. But they are something I think that inherently people that use them want to have so badly, it drives them to create them when that need isn't being fulfilled. And so going back to, as a kid, digging in the dirt, building jumps, maybe you have no idea where you're doing it. Maybe you do know you're doing it on somebody else's property. A lot of that negative connotation maybe comes from ignorance. But it just shows that there was a need there. Like, why did you build the jumps? Because you wanted to jump your bike.
Right.
So what you were doing, what I was doing was out kind of trying to fulfill a need that maybe wasn't being fulfilled by an agency or an entity, that should be doing it the proper way. So anyway, I just wanted to give that little caveat because we're dealing with that all the time. There's people out there that love trails so much that we're trying to wrangle their passion and their energy and direct it in a very productive, fruitful way. that's just something that's always existed and will continue to exist. But so anyway, so backing up, Redding Trail Alliance, Nate's out digging in the dirt with my dog, and then we get a call. Or first off, I end up meeting other individuals who are doing the same thing throughout the greater Redding area. They're off building their own trails. I built my trail. And so it's kind of like connecting in the subculture. And then we all get this phone call or email from this individual, Brian Sent at McConnell Foundation. And he had been leveraging his role in McConnell, working with land managers, i.e. primarily Bureau of Land Management, to leverage the organization that McConnell is, the funding that they have, to partner with Bureau of Land Management to really expand and grow, especially with connectivity, our legal trail system. So prior to him and some other key individuals, Brent Owens is another one, private funder of local trails, Francis Berg. So there's been a number of key players, but really Brian Sent, I think, really moved that needle forward. And I'd say he probably is responsible for over 100 miles of trails in the Redding area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he was active for like 10 years. He was out, hired a contractor with a small trail dozer, just out blazing trails. So he reaches out to me and some of my buddies and was like, hey, I'd love to talk to you about a project I'm doing. I'd like to maybe get you guys on board with this. And so we met with him at the...
Wait a minute. Did anybody feel like it was potentially a
absolutely.
a sting operation?
Yeah. No. Brian Schuper told me later, one of the founding members of Redding Trail Alliance, he thought it was a potential sting because he's like, why are they trying to get all of us in the same room together?
Right.
I had no anticipation of that, but that was where his brain went.
Right. I like this guy. I'm conspiratorial.
So I like, everybody likes Ryan. If you meet him, you would love him. So Brian reaches out and is like, hey, meet with us. I think we met at the Old Millhouse Deli.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
I used to
was
be out
still
there
in
off Eureka
existence.
Way. Yeah.
Met there, and he just explained he was kind of going into his last project with McConnell because he was looking to retire. And he had been building trails for 10 plus years. And typically the hand crew he would work with were out of season or seasonal like landscapers. He would just hire people through an employment agency. And so there are people out working with him and they have no passion for trails. Like they're not trail users. They're just, I'm not saying just landscapers, but they didn't bring the excitement, so to speak.
Right.
And so he's like, I have this project and I would love to bring you guys on board and I'd love to have you involved. Like you can help create it. You can help shape this trail into what you want it to be. And we can have a lot of fun doing it. And so from that, a number of those people said, yeah, I'll work with you. And it worked out for me because I was unemployed. There was a broad group of people, some people semi-retired, some people self-employed. And so it allowed us to come together, kind of not necessarily work full-time, all of us, but all of us came together as a greater group and worked with Brian to complete what is now Trail 58 and the French Fry Trail.
Okay. Where can you find Trail 58 and the French Fry Trail?
Trail 58 is located just off of 299 as you're heading into Old Shasta.
Okay.
Where the transfer station is out there. So there's a trailhead for Trail 58 right there, and it connects down to Iron Mountain Road right behind Station 58, a CAL FIRE station. And that's why it's called Trail 58 in honor of that station. And then French Fry, same thing. French Fry starts right there at the transfer station and goes up over the hill and drops down to the Rock Creek drainage, follows Rock Creek down and comes out on Iron Mountain Road near the large Crystal Creek aggregate quarry back there.
Okay. And is that what you were talking about earlier when you used the phrase connectivity? Was the idea of getting all these trails to ultimately connect?
Yes. Like those are very key component, those would be good examples of connectivity. So part of French Fry already existed. It was a user-created trail that had been around for not that long. I'd say maybe like 4 years. But it was just kind of over there by itself, just along Rock Creek. And what it was an old mining trail. And a mountain biker went in and cut a bunch of manzanita, did a little bit of dirt work. And so people started riding it again. And so Brian was like, how can we connect existing trails over here to this trail, bring it onto the legal, trail catalog, trail network. And so all that could be considered part of like connectivity, connecting trails or trail experiences together.
So Trail 58, the name makes sense. What about French Fry? How'd you get that trail?
That was actually kind of my doing. Me and a buddy, backing up a little bit, when the one individual originally opened the old mining trail, you had to access it back off of Granite, which is a little road that takes you out from behind Old Shasta down to Rock Creek. And so you kind of like access it back on a power line road. And when you drop down near Rock Creek, kind of like to the start of the trail, when we first started riding it, somebody had taken a Carl's Jr.'s fresh cut French fry sign.
Okay.
So they're having like this, their French fries had the skins on them still
Right.
and stuff. So somebody had taken one of those and stuck it in the ground right there. And so we just started calling it the French Fry Trail.
Okay. And it's stuck.
So then when we connected to it, I was like, we're calling this the French Fry Trail. So I think this whole trail should be the French Fry. And that's how it got that.
Okay.
There were some people advocated against it, but we won.
All right. So then this was like you're cutting your teeth in every aspect of lawful trail building. You're actually out there building the trail, it sounds like. But then are you picking up the knowledge about how because you mentioned like adding this to the catalog of trails. I mean, are you picking up that knowledge in this project?
Some. We picked up, the knowledge we picked up was that, hey, you can have a dialogue and a discussion and work with your land manager to build trails that you want to build. There's always going to be a give and take. But prior to that, we thought they were always against anything we wanted. We thought, like, if you build a berm, they're just going to tear it down. And so we realized, and a big part of this had to do with the relationship Brian Sint had developed with Bureau of Land Management, the recreation officer, the local, I can't remember, the field manager.
Okay.
That's the head of our local field office. And so just being able to kind of step into that already developed relationship and already developed trust. But what it showed us was that you can work with them to create fun, unique trails that we wanted to create. And before, that's why, once again, back to that kind of community-driven trail experience, or you're out digging, with the shovel, creating jumps. I'm out digging a trail that's gnarly, has like log rides and rock gardens on it, because I wanted that experience. And so then this opened up our eyes to, it takes time, it takes a lot of money, but you can work with the government to create those experiences. Okay. Yeah.
So then once a trail gets built, like Trail 58 or French Fry, whose trail is it? I mean, I know it's a public asset, but then is it owned by the public through the BLM?
Yes.
Or okay,
it becomes part of their inventory of what they own and have to manage.
Okay.
So every mile, half mile, every foot of trail that we build, that land manager owns that trail, and it becomes technically their responsibility. That's why having the showing that you have the experience and the dedication to not only build a good trail, but keep maintaining that trail, it goes a long ways when you ask to do something. Because if you're adding maintenance to their catalog and they are already struggling, why would they say yes?
Right.
Except for if you can show that, yes, I work with you to continue to maintain it as well.
So then how does that process work? So you build this trail, it's pristine when you get it finished. You get French Fry open, you get Trail 58 open. They accept it as part of their catalog. But the continuing maintenance requirement, how does that component work with Redding Trail Alliance?
It's a struggle. Maintenance is a very unique component of any trail stewardship organization. Obviously, you read our mission statement. When we started, we didn't want to be the ones, that wasn't what we were thinking. We weren't thinking we'd be out maintaining 150, 200 miles of trail. But the reality is that's a need our community has, and it's a need that we've stepped up to try and address as well as possible.
Okay.
We can't do it perfectly. I mean, we have 3 employees.
Right.
But what we do is we've created an advocacy organization where we engage as many people as we can. We train them on how to properly do maintenance. We've implemented an Adopt a Trail program, which is been very successful. And then we also raise money and pay for a lot of maintenance ourselves, like a lot. So we aren't doing 100%. There needs to be more. There's always a backlog of maintenance that needs to be done, but we're doing our best.
I mean, I get that. That's, I mean, I think like the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know if this is true, but it's been said enough that I think of it this way. Like they paint it and it takes, whatever, 7 years to paint it from one end to the next. And they just turn around, go back to the beginning and start again because it needs to be painted again because it lives in the salt air. I mean, the trails are like that. I know, like we live on rural property. I'll work all spring to deal with fire, limb up all the oaks that I already limbed up last year, take out dead ones, move the fire line back, weed whack, and it's ready to be done again. It's just, you always have to work at it. Just things grow.
I've used that analogy so many times.
The Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah. It's exactly what it's like, especially the fire has compounded that issue because now that we've had the fire come through and burn up all of our canopy in certain areas, we have the regrowth, as I'm sure you're aware of, like live oaks, black oaks, toyon. Those things don't die usually. They just grow back from the roots, and they grow back insanely quick because they already have these root systems that are grabbing all this nutrients. At least I think this is why. I'm not a botanist, but I do know they grow really quick. And so,
Right.
you could trim a trail, and the next year you have to start, you have to trim it again.
Right.
So it's never ending and it can get overwhelming.
And comments are disabled on the Allredding podcast videos, so we can tick off all the botanists we want. They're just going to have to sit there and be angry. They can't comment, so we're good to go.
Oh, I don't think I'm taking them off. I think they just correct me. It's like what I imagine is, you've had this oak tree that is, 18 inches in diameter, 20 inches in diameter, and it's burnt. And so it's coming back from the roots. The roots didn't die. And so those roots are huge. They are big enough to support a 20-inch, oak.
Right.
And so they're like, I just feel like the growth of these trees, especially at first, is so quick. And it can get frustrating because you trim them up. And now we're up to, we have some of these oaks are probably pushing 20 feet tall now. 18
Already?
to 20 feet tall, yeah.
Wow.
But even then, you trim it up to just 1 or 2 leaders, I think they call them. And so it helps them turn into a tree versus a bush. But even then, you're always having little ones pop out at the bottom. Maybe another 10 years, they'll stop doing that. But yeah, the trimming of brush is a nightmare.
Okay. So, but you mentioned, adopt a trail, and it sounds like the community of users of these trails is pretty good about trying to help out and maintain them, or could be better.
To an extent.
Okay.
Yes. We're always advocating for that and trying to promote it. But we'll get more into this probably in the funding, but we have a very large community of people who love our trails. But the actual people who go out and do regular maintenance is very small in percentage, very small. And so a lot of people aren't enjoying the trails thanks to a few people's hard efforts.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's statistics about that in volunteer organizations, something like 10% of the users do like 90% of the work and that sort of thing. I mean, that checks out what you're saying, but we'll try and, get more people involved. So tell me then, we've arrived at kind of the backstory of Redding Trail Alliance, your transition to Redding Trail Alliance. What's happened as you've grown from French Fry and Trail 58 over the last 10 years?
So in 10 years, I wanted to say from working with Brian Sant, that was what was the catalyst of getting Redding Trail Alliance going. He was like, yes, you should form a nonprofit. Yes, McConnell Foundation will help you. So we had a 3-year grant cycle from McConnell Foundation that really helped kickstart our projects. And we came out of the door, so to speak, with a pretty ambitious one. And it was the conversion of an old mining road out at Swayze into a pretty legit, like bike park style jump line.
Okay.
And Bureau of Land Management we presented a plan. We talked about like the scope of work, what we wanted to do, what it would look like. And so a number of meetings about that, site visits to the area. And they let us move forward with it. And they were able to kind of fast track that project, so to speak, because it was within the scope of RD disturbance, the old road. As long as we stayed within that, they didn't have to do an environmental review or a NEPA.
Okay.
So it really kept that cost down and fast tracked the project. And so that first winter, 2016, I would say early 17, probably January or February, we started building the Enticer jump
Okay.
trail. And so almost a mile long. And the goal with it, and the reason it's called the Enticer is, or one of the reasons, is that because it's such a fun, unique trail, and there wasn't a lot of experiences like that in Northern California, we had hoped that it would entice people to Redding, and it did. Like, it really was successful at that. It's Red Bull athletes have come here to ride it.
Okay.
People stop in Redding just to lap that trail. And so what that did was it kind of put Redding Trail Alliance on the map, because we were able to go out and do a really cool thing. And with that, it garnished a lot of community support. And then we continued to have that McConnell funding for that first 3 years.
Okay.
So Enticer, Snail Trail rebuild, taking another trail and turning it into a pretty legit flow trail. And that's probably now one of our most popular trails. Just did a major rebuild on it again this year.
Is that Snail Trail or a different one?
Snail Trail,
Okay.
yeah. Then we did a couple little reroutes, built Owen's Run, named after my dog.
Right.
So that trail was built to get people up to the top of Enticer quicker and easier. Then fast forward to 10 years later, I think we have 26 miles of new trails that we built under our belt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many? Because I grew up when the OHV, which is now almost exclusively off-road vehicles, out at Shasta Dam was still a mountain bike area, and then all the trails around Whiskeytown. John Schumann book was published when I was riding a bunch. It was Whiskeytown trails, like maybe I was 96, 95, somewhere in there. A lot of those trails got burned, got destroyed. How has Redding Trail Alliance come alongside the existing trails that used to be those old school trails that I enjoyed growing up?
Yeah. We work with the land managers to the extent that we have the capacity to, and that they will allow it. And Whiskeytown has definitely changed their tune as far as like their engagement with us and the public to help keep their trails open and open their trails. In Whiskeytown, they shut down all the trails that were on the Shasta Valley drainage. Anything that was, so like Kanaka, Rich Gulch, Brandy Creek, Boulder Creek, Mill Creek, like all those trails were shut down for 3 years after the car fire due to, I think it was somebody down in LA, a decision they made.
Okay.
I don't think it was the right decision, and I think a number of people in the park don't either, but it was the decision that was made. And so because of that, you had trails that were neglected for 3 years, didn't touch them at all. And then going back in and trying to reopen those trails, it's almost as difficult as just like creating a new trail. We were able to get a grant and reopen one of the more popular mountain bike trails out there called the Chimney.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ridden out in Whiskeytown, I'm sure you've ridden that trail. It was like the most popular mountain bike trail back in the day, and I'd say it still is highly, one of the locals' favorites. So we were able to work with the park, go in and clear that out. Took us better part, I think, of a month and about $15,000. We're able to get our little trail dozer in there, regrade the trail, build a lot of water features, i.e. like features to get water off the trail, make it sustainable. And so that was like our first big project working with Whiskeytown. And they still have a lot to go. And hopefully they're going to implement a partnership agreement with us where they can help us do the work that they need done.
Okay.
So that partnership agreement, unlike a contract that would, like if they had a contract for somebody to come in and reopen a trail or build a new trail alignment, it would, it's a contract to go out to bid, and a contractor would bid on it, and they'd, be making money. But with a partnership agreement, we bring, our resources, like we could bring our equipment to the table, our knowledge, our community engagement, get volunteers out there, and then they could maybe offset the cost of like our labor, payroll.
Right.
So hopefully the park is able to do that, because I feel like there's a couple projects out there that we could go in and really do some good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a dirt trails, not paved surface trails, but how many miles of dirt trails would you say exist within the Shasta County area?
I don't even want to say a
sorry,
number.
let me narrow that.
I would say
question
between
a little.
150 and 200.
Okay.
We are actually having the City of Redding is partnered, or I should say, Redding Parks and Trails Foundation is paying for a very comprehensive future trail planning document
Okay.
called the Future of Redding Trails, and they hired a consultant to work with all the different people that that have their hands in this, so to speak. So all the different land managers working with us to develop a guiding document that would help show the deficit of maybe where we're lacking in trail infrastructure, whether that's connectivity or experiences, and then potential solutions for those issues. And why did I go down that road? What was your question?
Oh, I was asking about total miles.
Okay, so he actually took inventory. So that I can get you that number, and I think it was actually higher than most people say. I feel like it was maybe 225
Okay.
or thereof, of natural surface trails.
Okay. So then talk to me, because we don't want to freak out our listeners. I mean, some of these trails that you've talked about, for Red Bull riders coming to ride it, it's probably not one that you're going to take your new mountain biker down. But I know that there's a wide variety of trails in the area, and you use the phrase experiences. I think that means different trails for different levels that everybody can get out there and enjoy. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, look at our mission statement. That's what we want: diversity that helps build a really robust, thriving trail community. And so it was interesting because prior to, I'm going to call Brian Sint era of him out building, prior to that, most of our trail experiences were what you listed, like out at the OHV Park or Whiskey Town. So they were really rugged, steep trails, because of Whiskey Town, all those trails were just old roads.
Right.
Just old, steep, thinking mining roads,
Right.
some kind of resource extraction road. And people just opened them back up and started riding them. So they're rutted out, just really challenging experience. And that's fun. But if you go back to when I started riding back in 99, when I started taking it serious, and then you wanted to bring people into the sport, show them like what mountain biking is, the only trail we really had to do that was Oak Bottom.
Right.
And that's a 2-mile long trail, out and back, you're maybe 4.5 miles. That was the only trail we had for beginners, like only one. And so Brian came along, and I felt like the needle swung a little drastic the other way, because a lot of what they were building, I feel, is more in that kind of beginnerish level, really wide trails, a lot of them very mellow, meandering, everything out by Keswick Reservoir, so FB Trail,
Right.
Sack Ditch Trail, the Hornbeck Trail. Like, those are great opportunities to get people on mountain bikes. But, you're talking 25 miles of trails that to me just kind of feel the same.
Right.
And so that kind of made it swing back the other way, because I was so frustrated with that type of trail development, because I wanted gnarly. I wanted to not hook myself off a cliff, but I wanted challenging experiences. And so that's what kind of motivated me to start building a trail, to kind of have that more aggressive experience on a mountain bike. And that's why the other guys I met were out building trails. They were building jumps. I'm not a jumper. And so when Redding Trail Alliance formed, the pendulum kind of swung far back the other way towards that challenging experience, the Enticer.
Right.
And now, as we've matured, we see the need for all experiences, and really highlighting just the quality of the trail, whether that is a beginner trail or an intermediate or advanced. Like, we still want all of them, but we want everyone that we build have a reason for being there. And usually that reason, sometimes it is just connectivity, but typically new trail development that we're doing is more about the experience. Like, what are the people doing? Is it taking them through rough, rugged terrain? Are they seeing waterfalls? Is it really fun, flowy, mellow? Is it fast and flowy? So yeah, it's really highlighting the experience of the trail.
That makes sense from a good long range planning standpoint. Like, one of the things we'll talk about is some of the events that Redding Trail Alliance is going to put on. We'll get to that in a bit. But my wife is training for one of those events, and her training block just started for it. And so, normally I'm a training partner, but I want no part of this particular event. Anyways, so one of the ways that we're going to keep the family together while training is my son and I will take our bikes. We'll hit a bunch of the trails that are part of that. And he's our baby. He's the baby of the bunch. I need that beginner trail for him so we can train with mom, and he doesn't need to be out on the Enticer. He'll be 9 years old when we're doing the trail riding, and we'll ride a few miles, refill our water bottles, and we'll go hit the paddle boards. So you need that for today's beginner rider is tomorrow's intermediate rider and is the advanced trail builder in another 10 years when he's big enough to swing a shovel all day long. So that's perfect.
But what's interesting going forward, we do see a need. There's actually a big deficit in what we would call, in regards to just mountain biking. I'm not talking about trail running or equestrian use, but we have a pretty big deficit in the green, the beginner, and blue, but specifically green, like highly, really fun green experiences. We have a lot of green experiences. But what we want is that green experience that is pretty easily accessible, that you can get your 9-year-old out on. And when they ride that trail, they're like, I love mountain biking.
Right.
Versus just kind of riding along, which is a lot of fun in its own right. But that's where our catalog of trails is lacking in that, so to speak. There's some of it. Like we just built a trail last year called Kulul. It's another Wintu name, but it's bordering on blue. It's kind of like a greenish blue trail, and it's super fun.
Where's it at?
Out at Swayze, on the west side of Mule Ridge. Okay. Yeah.
So, what's the? I don't want to say day-to-day activities of Redding Trail Alliance now, but like, give me the.
I apologize.
That's all right.
That's big faux pas.
So what's the month-to-month activities of Redding Trail Alliance? I know you're meeting with land managers. There's actual trail building. You mentioned a trail dozer. You're going to have to explain what that is. Getting funding. I mean, how does the organization work at a nuts and bolts level over, say, a 6-month snapshot?
Oh boy, I wish I could tell you what I did yesterday.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, we have a list on our board of a backlog of stuff that we need to do. Like right now, something that's sitting on my list, I have to create our annual report.
Okay.
So just like running any legitimate company or organization, there's just the nuts and bolts and of just day-to-day operations. Like Camille, our operations director, just scanning receipts and cataloging and allocating, because we have to track everything so we can hopefully maybe apply it towards a specific funding project if we have a grant. But it's just important that we catalog and track all of our expenses anyway so that we can look at where that money's going. So she'll spend on payroll week, like a good portion of that week, just going through payroll and making sure all the hours are allocated to whatever it is that person is doing,
and make sure it goes to the right grant funding. So then let's break it down, because I asked you too big of a question. I'm a huge fan. Like, my family uses the trails. You're putting on an event that is going to be kind of a keystone event in my wife's life. So how does Redding Trail Alliance get funding, and how listeners might get involved with that?
So we aren't just trail builders and advocates. We have realized that in order to do that, we've taken on the role as event promoters. And one of those, we have multiple events. The Lemurian Classic, which is right around the corner. It's a mountain bike race that we inherited. It started in 1987, and number of different organizations or people ran that race throughout the years. It started out at the dam at Chappie, made its way to French Gulch a couple of years, then Whiskeytown for quite a few years, and then after the fire, we took it over in 2019. That's when we brought it to start in Swayze Recreation Area. It still utilizes some Whiskeytown trails. So we have that. Typically, we're getting close to 350 participants, and that's our cap currently. We're hoping maybe bump that up to 400. Then we have the Jackalope Lope. I'm sure that's the event you're talking about.
It is.
We worked with some local trail runners, because even though I dabble in trail running, I don't consider myself a big trail runner. We worked with some people who are definitely more ingrained in the trail running and trail race culture. James Wang and Christine Luampo. They came on board, helped us get that event going. And so we have that. That's a fantastic trail running race out of Whiskeytown. That's a 9-mile, just over 20-mile, like a 32-mile race.
Right.
So
I've been sent. So wifey never says what she wants me to ask guests, but this one I've been sent with some questions. So we'll start with Lemurian because I've raced Lemurian a number of times. My son, my bigger son, he's raced Lemurian. He's 19 now. We raced out there when he was a youth rider.
Nice.
Let's talk about the Lemurian. Lemurian's got a race course for everybody, right?
It does, especially this year.
Okay,
Like it
more.
really does. We kind of went not overboard, but we really have a race course for everybody this year. Historically, the Lemurian did not have a race course for beginners because, like, out at the dam or even out Whiskeytown, like creating a beginner course was impossible. So they always had what was called a short course. So it wasn't necessarily a very long course, but it definitely had like challenging aspects to it, steep climbs, rugged downhills. Now that it's at Swayze, we have a true beginner course. I think it's right about 5 miles, really mellow. We have very young kids that are signing up for that. We have a short sport course, which is, I think, just over 9 miles. And we have a sport course, which sits at about 17 miles. And then we have the pro expert course, which this year is pushing, it's like 32 miles and close to 4,000 feet of climbing.
It's a lot of climbing.
Yeah, it's a big day for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So something for everybody. And it's a true grassroots race. Like it's, rugged trails, a lot of community engagement. We try and keep the cost down, even though it keeps creeping up, the cost of the race. But when we look around at what we're providing our participants and looking at the cost of other races, we still feel like it's a very good bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yeah, it's got great value.
Yes, exactly.
Any corporate sponsors on board with Lemurian now that it's out at Swayze? Back in the day, we used to see bike companies would show up and they'd have some swag and stuff like that. Have we gotten back to that spot, or maybe we're never at that spot like I'm perceiving it?
Did we talk about this before?
Not that I'm
This
aware
is unprovoked.
Unprovoked.
Oh, okay. I have to really be careful what I say about this. No, the Lemurian is our biggest fundraiser. Like
Okay.
it's amazing for number of reasons. The participants, like on a good year, we'll make probably about $5,000 on the participants. It costs us $25,000 to put that event on.
Oh, wow.
People don't realize that. So
I had no idea.
Even though their race entry fee, I think this year we started at $90 for early bird, then it went up to $100, and now it's at the final jump was $110. Until we hit about 200 participants, which we aren't even there yet this year, we aren't making any money on those race fees. So what happens is the Lemurian, for a number of reasons, I don't know why, I think because it is such a ingrained thing in our community, people know it, they love it. Every year we have about $30,000 worth of sponsorships from local companies, dentists, construction companies, physical therapists, financial companies. I encourage you to go to the website and just look at our sponsors.
Okay.
So
Love the
our
community
community
supporting that.
steps up when it comes to sponsoring the Lemurian. So the racers cover the cost of the race and they make us a little bit of money, but our sponsors are killing it. And I also have to give a huge shout out to our sponsorship coordinator for the Lemurian, Janae Eberly. She kills it. Like she has no shame in asking for her money for Redding Trail Alliance. So we love her.
The Lemurian's been part of our community since I was a kid. I mean, my brother,
87.
Yeah, my brother who lives in the mid-state, he and a buddy had heard about this race, and he's like, "Hey, man, that's my hometown. We got to go there." And that was, it was still a Chappie at the time. And then, my kids grew up racing it. I've raced it. My buddies have raced it. There's at Chain Gang. There's great old trophies for the Lemurian. So it's baked in. Around here.
Yeah, and so as far as bike company or bike involvement, that's been a struggle. Let me just put it that way. I was ready to throw up my hands and walk away from wanting to have anything to do with the bike industry because it was frustrating. And I understand they're not raking in the bucks. And as a nonprofit, I've realized you have to look to the people that are raking in the bucks because that's where you can get money from. But my frustration was also like what we're doing directly benefits them. Like you don't have to take 2 steps to figure out how it directly benefits them. Creating an amazing place to ride bikes, they sell bikes.
Right.
I think the 2 companies that we directly benefit is the bike industry, whether that's local bike shops or bike companies, or the medical industry, because we definitely have sent a lot of people to the ER.
Yeah, when you use the physical therapist response, I'm like, yeah, come on, man, that's baiting your clients or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but actually, a bunch of the guys that I run with are physical therapists, and they're just great. They always take good care of us. Okay, so Lemurian, it's available. They got something for everybody. When is the Lemurian?
It is. Wow, why do I have to think about it? It's May 9th.
Okay.
So just a month away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still time to sign up.
Oh, absolutely. And it'll probably sell out, but people in Redding like to wait till the last minute to sign up for stuff.
Yeah.
Like they do. They absolutely do. We have our registration now, if you look at it, it's like Santa Rosa, Sacramento, Roseville, a lot of Reno, some up north, Oregon, Bend, Medford, Ashland, some from the coast. Like we're getting a lot of out-of-towners. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's quite a few people locally that have signed up, but we're going to get a huge influx of locals. It just always happens.
Yeah.
I get stressed out every year thinking that we're just going to have nobody come out and race this race or any of our events. And then towards the end, we get a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about the Jackalope Lope. That's the one I got sent with questions about. Describe the race and the race courses. I know you said the distances, but talk about what those courses are like, because maybe there's somebody who's listening who's a new trail runner, or maybe there's somebody who's listening, not naming names, but she might be married to me, who wants to do something harder than the marathons she's already done.
Well, then she can just sign up for that 32-mile course.
She has and will, or is and will. I'm not sure if she's already signed up. She'll be an early bird, though, because she wants a discount. That girl loves a coupon.
Well, it's registration's live on it.
Okay.
Yeah. She can sign up right now if she hasn't already. So yeah, the Jackalope, it doesn't have a course for everybody, but what it does, it has a challenging course for somebody, even if they're new to trail running. You train a little bit, you can get out and go do the 9-mile course. Like it will be a challenge, but there's people that are not trail runners that have trained for that. We've seen them come out and do it, and it's very inspiring. Like it's awesome to see. We had last year, the year before last, she was an 83-year-old lady from the East Coast. She was spicy.
Yeah.
And she came over with her daughter and she did the short course, and so, yeah, she had a great time. And then, so we only had the 8-mile, and then we were calling it a 30K or whatever, it's 20 something miles. Our distances have always been off. And then last year we introduced the 32-mile or 50K. And it's a very challenging course. I was blown away with how many people registered for that and finished. I think we had one person not be able to finish.
Wow.
And even he was pumped. Like afterwards, he struggled. We brought him in on a truck just because he was not, we were going to have to be waiting for hours and hours for him to get done. But he just expressed his appreciation for us doing what we're doing. And just, even though he really had a hard time, he was very inspired and loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many feet of elevation change on the 50K?
I think it's 6,000.
It's a pretty big number.
Big, and it's straight up. Every one of the climbs are like very steep. Yeah, so it's a challenging. And then the downhills aren't easy. It's not like just downhills. You can just start. It's not like a road you can just kind of like run on.
Right.
Almost every one of the downhills is pretty technical trail.
How many of your runners you see using trekking poles?
Not that many, actually. Yeah.
And then what about aid stations along the way? Because
we
still have some
very well
October.
Stocked aid stations, and we're going to make a few slight adjustments from last year, especially boosting up the final big aid station for the long course, adding more. We're going to have a lot of cold soda there. Like people want Coke, and the Coke that you drink, and pickle juice. People they kept asking for pickle juice. But aid stations are very well stocked with like a broad range, chips, salty things, like I said, pickle juice. And then we always have a bunch of gels and just standard like running food and hydration mix and water. So yeah, well stocked aid station. And the long course has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they hit the third one a 5th time.
Okay.
So definitely lots of chances to replenish on your fuel out there.
To the uninitiated, the pickle juice is salty, so that's your electrolytes, and the Coke has a lot of easy to grab sugar calories.
I think when you're out there so long, and it was a little warm when they ran it, you're just so sick of drinking water. Just anything just sounds great. I've been on 50, 60 mile mountain bike rides, where I just cracked open a cold Coke at Jay's Market at mile 50. Like the best thing I ever had.
Yeah. Right. We take our kids on hikes when they're little, and somehow we were keeping our son, who's 19 now, going still. Like, come on, buddy. And we promised him Weinhardt's root beer. And that kid will still carry a heavy pack for as far as he needs to carry it for a Weinhardt's root beer.
Oh, yeah?
It's magical. Yeah. He's in the Army now. I wonder if I told his command about that, if they might get him to ruck faster or further. So anyways, how many liters of water are your runners carrying on the 50K course on their body?
I think there's a lot of them, you just have your hydration vest, or some of them are just doing bottles, so
One or 2 liters?
Maybe 2 16-ounce bottles. Like I said, there's plenty of opportunities to fill up along the course. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not heavily weighed down.
How many years has the Jackalope Lope been going?
The last year that we ran it was its 3rd year.
Okay.
And so last year we had really kind of hoped for a big balloon in numbers, because we changed our registration over to ultra sign up. And from our understanding, like, people that do ultras, they go to that to look for them. Like, that's the standard. Like, if you're going to look for an ultra race to race, you go to ultra sign up and you start looking around. And so we moved it on there, and we really didn't see a huge growth. And one of the reasons we thought was we didn't get it on there soon enough, because people typically plan out their year well ahead of time. So this year it was up, it's been up since maybe almost so the Jackalope's in October. I think we were live registration in December.
Oh, okay.
For the next year. Yeah.
How many runners are you hoping to expect across all the courses this year?
I would love to get up to 200. I think last year we had 120. And so that'd be great if we could balloon it to 200. But even then, I mean, it also makes us some money. Not a bunch on our participants, but we get pretty good sponsors. Not like the Lemurian, but we get people that step up and sponsor it. I think the Jackalope made us about $8,000 last year, which makes it worth putting on for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because there's a lot of good, worthy causes, places that people can put their resources. How does Redding Trail Alliance make sure that dollars given, dollars earned in putting on events and things like that actually gets to the end purpose of building trails, maintaining trails, expanding the outdoor opportunities here?
We just do our absolute best to be wise with our funds and try and do kick-ass projects for the community.
And you guys have a great board, right?
We have a board.
Okay.
we have a great board. They're very supportive. They're very unified. And I think that helps us be successful. I've known of nonprofit boards that maybe don't always agree, and so it can kind of handicap the organization. Ours has been very unified and supportive of our mission. So yeah, there's that, and they also they watch what we're doing. All our big moves and big expenses it's governed by a board. It's not just me out there making my decisions on my own.
Right.
It's not the Nate show.
Okay.
A lot of people think it is, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you can go to your website. I mean, you guys have a ton of volunteers and folks that do so much work, and they're all detailed out there on the website. I mean, you guys clearly have a team that's very supportive and is willing to invest their own personal time and treasure.
No, I think we have a pretty amazing board, a lot of really cool, I would say, community leaders. One of them, the Honorable Judge Burgess, he asked me to ask you something about, I think, the 12 Days of Christmas.
Judge Burgess is a sitting member of the bench. I am a practicing attorney. All I can say is he serves with excellence along with the other judges in our Shasta County area, and he knows that I can't say anything about allegedly having been manipulated, tricked into singing at an office Christmas party, the 12 Days of Christmas. based on a false allegation. This is, false allegation that everybody did it. Yeah, that.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad I was able to sneak that in there.
When I saw Judge Burgess was on the board, I was like, he's going to come up because he was a great lawyer and he's a good judge.
Yeah, no, I think he's an amazing individual. I'm so happy he's on our board.
And stay on the right side of the California Bar Association. I don't think I can say anything else.
So back to your question about like people, their money coming to Redding Trail Alliance, supporting. So one, they're helping ensure that that we keep doing these events, and we think these events are important for Redding. I mean, the Lemurian probably brings in 70 people that are going to be here staying the night, from a good distance away. The economic impact of that, while not huge, it's real. And the other economic impact is that when people if people come here and experience the Lemurian, and especially if it's for the first time, their eyes are being opened to how awesome our trails are, how awesome our town is. And mountain bikers, they're always craving, they travel to go ride their bike.
Right.
So the continued impact that has on our economy from a tourism standpoint is significant, because those people are going to come back. They're going to stop here. They're going to ride their bikes. They may stay here, right? And that's the other important reason to have a nice catalog of trails that are really exciting, because what you want at least 3 days worth of good, solid 18 to 20 mile rides that highlight some amazing trails. So if you can have that, you have a trail destination. So anyway, Lemurian exposes these trails. Jackalope exposes these trails to people. They think the guy that won it was from Petaluma, and he was just blown away at the race and the trails. And he was like, I'm going to tell all my friends about it.
Yeah.
So the trickle-down effect of that is real. But then also, and I think this is why we get so many people that sponsor the Lemurian or just sponsor our events in general, because they're so happy with what we have done so far. And it's easy for them to write a check because they know that we're going to continue to do our best to not only keep what we have going, but build some really new, fun, exciting stuff for them.
I love it.
So I think it's kind of it's a selfish thing. I mean, it's why part of the reason I'm doing it, because I want to ride new trails. So I think the people that sponsor us, a lot of them just really love the trails that we're building, love the trails that are here, and just want to support it.
But these trails are not just for mountain bikers. They're not just for trail runners. I mean, if somebody wants to go out put a backpack on, go for a hike, take their family for a walk, they can use the trails as well, right?
Oh yeah, there's so many good trails for those experiences all throughout the area. And that's the other thing, we've grown as becoming the trail organization in the area. We build and maintain trails for all different user groups. I'm going to highlight Salt Creek. It's a project we did back in 2022, I think. There was already an existing trail along Salt Creek from 299 down to the river trail, and a decent portion of it went through private property and it was shut down. And so people wanted that trail back open, not just mountain bikers, but trail runners and hikers. It's very popular with everybody. We went in with the support of Friesen Foundation, the McConnell Foundation. We were able to go in and rebuild that trail on Bureau of Land Management land with a few small easements through John Friesen's property, and install a 70-foot fiberglass bridge over Salt Creek. So the reason I'm highlighting this is that trail I love to just go walk it with my dog. There's so many good trails we have around here just to get out in nature. They're not challenging, they're scenic, they're beautiful, take you along, beautiful creeks. You see salmon in that creek.
Okay.
I've seen otters in that creek. Other trails that we don't necessarily steward or take care of, but it's just within the city of Redding. I think Nurpon is an amazing amenity right here, right on the Sacramento River, right downtown. We have a 1 mile loop that's absolutely beautiful. Take my dogs out there almost daily in the summer and walk around, let them get in the water.
Right.
So yeah, our trail systems here, we have something for everybody. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Beautiful. So we talked about Lemurian, we talked about the Jackalope, but there's also the Bigfoot Adventure Challenge and the Tiango Trot. What are those?
Yeah, so the Bigfoot Adventure Challenge, it's going on right now. It started April 1st, and it goes until the end of May. That started as the Mayor's Mountain Bike Challenge. Brett Weaver?
Mm-hmm. I think it's Brent
Brent Weaver, yeah. I hate names that are so close to each other. Mr. Weaver, he was a mountain biker, is a mountain biker, and as a mayor, he wanted to create something to highlight all of our, our awesome trails. And so he worked with Brian Sent. I think Brian Crane was on board from the beginning, and Ryan Schupert. Like that was the kind of the founding committee. They created the Mayor's Mountain Bike Challenge, and it's a passport style challenge. People are able to download or pick up a passport at a local bike shop, and it just has a list of rides or routes to do. And you go out and you do the ride, you check it off your passport. You do 3 rides, you can turn in and get a pair of socks.
Okay.
And get entered into a raffle that we have a big finale party where we give away thousands of dollars worth of gift cards to local outdoor stores. So there's that aspect of it. So that was the Mayor's Mountain Bike Challenge. And then we kind of wanted to branch away from just being the Mayor's Challenge, and it became the Bigfoot Mountain Bike Challenge. And because it wasn't just Redding, we had kind of grown regionally. Some of our rides were over in Weaverville. Some of our rides were up in Mount Shasta. And then from that grew the Bigfoot Adventure Challenge.
Okay.
And which I'm just it's just such an amazing event. I feel like we created it. It grew organically. And now it's just this thing that's embraced by our community. And I'm so excited. We developed this model of this style of event. I know it has to be being done elsewhere, but I've never seen it. And so the Adventure Challenge is you have a mountain bike passport. If you're a mountain biker, you can do that. You have a trail passport. So if you hike or trail run, you can do that passport. We have a multi-sport passport, which is mountain biking, trail running, and gravel riding. Or we have a gravel passport, which is gravel riding.
Okay.
For those that don't know what that is, they typically look like road bikes, but they got bigger tires, developed specifically to ride on gravel roads. But they're really kind of like the all-terrain bike. You can go anywhere with them, roads, bike paths, dirt roads. We have a family challenge. We have a dog challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, so however many passports that is. And you just pick one that you want to participate in it. It gets you out. We mix up the routes every year. We add new routes, especially when we bring new trails onto the system. We really like to highlight those new trails. And so, yeah, people love it. And what people have really kind of come to embrace is blacking out a passport or multiple passports, and that's doing all of the routes on them. Just to kind of put in perspective, like the trail route, you blacked it out this year. I think you've ran 80 miles.
Okay.
The mountain bike one, I think, is like 140, 150 miles, somewhere in there. And then you have some crazy people who are like blacking out 2 or 3 passports.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the passport downloadable, or can you still pick it up at local bike shops?
Both. Bigfoot Adventure Challenge kind of gives you the details about the event. I mean, you can go there, just download any passport. It's got a PDF you can fill out or print out, put on a refrigerator. Or you can go down to any of the bike shops and they'll have passports for you to pick up.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's very fun and it's grown to, I'm going to get this wrong, but I know it's over. So I'm going to say 440 participants last year. It's growing every year. And that's people that turn their passports in. So not just people that downloaded and maybe participated but didn't get around to turning their passports in. I know there's a lot of those. I think almost all of our board is in that in that category. We had almost 100% participation on our board, and I think one turned his passport in.
Okay.
So it just shows there's a lot of people engaging in this event, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And that sounds like there's something for, the family, okay, guys, we're going to go do this walk. We're going to do this hike,
It does. It gets people out of all abilities, all ages. And that's why it's really, I call it a community event. It highlights our trails, encourages people to be active, but then also exposes people to the great trail network that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what's the Tiango Trot?
We held our second one last November. And and it is a dog-friendly trail race. So it's a 5K and 10K, and you don't have to have a dog to do it, but a lot of people do. And we moved it to the Churn Creek Greenway, which is owned by McConnell Foundation. Beautiful little trail system right along Churn Creek. And so the first year, I think we had, say, 25 people participate in it. The second year was over 60. So definitely growing, and really fun event. And what we're seeing, the value of that is having, we have a number of 5Ks here in town. They're all on the river trail. But having one that gets people on dirt trails, like, I think that's really special, because that's what's near and dear to my heart. We found that having a very accessible event like that is something that we foresee growing pretty big, because almost anybody can come walk or jog a 5K.
Right.
And getting out there, seeing all the dogs, it's a really fun event. And then a big portion of the proceeds we donate back to a what would you call it? A dog, like Haven Humane. But the one we've chose, I think the last 2 years, is some good friends of ours. Or definitely this last year, we've donated the proceeds to All Dogs Thrive. It's a newer nonprofit that is helping get dogs out of shelters and into people's lives.
Homes.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're doing an amazing job.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, two areas that I know we haven't finished up yet: the future of the organization, and then how can people get involved. Am I missing anything else that we haven't touched on yet besides those?
No, but I do want to backtrack a little bit. I'm not going to dwell on the negative. But we were talking about the bike industry, and I said I was so frustrated. I wanted to walk away from it. I have nothing to do with them. Rewind to about, I want to say, November of last year. I had a friend reach out to me, and she used to work at IMBA, International Mountain Bike Association. And she said, Shimano, they've developed a funding source to help implement trail projects, get trails built. It's called Trailborne. And so she reached out and said, hey, I've had a connection of mine reach out to me and ask if I had any shovel-ready, so projects that were ready to be built, any shovel-ready projects. And I said, yeah, I think we do. And so she called me, and she's like, do you have anything that you could use $30,000 for? It's like, yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And actually, the two trails we were finishing up or building this season, I had budgeted $37,000 for. So yeah, having them come in with $30,000, it was a super easy ask for us working with them, and it was easy getting the funding from them. It was easy doing the grant reporting. So, needless to say, I always have to have that asterisk when I talk about the bike industry. Like, they did step up to the plate for us, and we did get a significant amount of money from Shimano.
Okay.
So, huge shout out to them.
Yeah, great for Shimano.
Yeah.
The Shimano Sun Tour battle, does it still rage in the bike industry?
No, Sun Tour isn't even a thing. It's Shimano and SRAM now.
Or excuse me, SRAM.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Your
Sun
SRAM.
Tour
SRAM.
is a thing. Like, they
But
were really low
SRAM
end.
and Sun Tour at one company at one point?
Might have been.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
I could be wrong, but yeah, it's been Shimano and SRAM
it
forever.
still is a big battle. Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm a Shimano fan now.
Okay. Yeah, it better be.
Absolutely.
All right. So where's Redding Trail Alliance going in the future?
Okay, so lots of places. Kind of just chasing that funding. You know, what depends on what happens with Whiskey Town, and that could open a huge door of opportunity for us to get in there and really have a good impact on that park. We are looking at a pet project of ours or a baby of ours, and this has been in the works since I think 2019 or 18. Just north in Lakehead, there's a mountain called Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
And it's 3,000 feet of vertical from lakeshore to the peak of that mountain. And there's a nice Forest Service road that goes to the top. It's pretty well maintained because there's towers up there. You could drive it in a two-wheel car if you want. And the majority of that mountain is Forest Service. And so I want to build gravity-fed mountain bike trails from the top all the way down to the bottom. And what that does is it creates that gravity experience. So you could have a shuttle, like a truck,
Right.
drive you to the top. You get dropped off, and then you have 10 miles, 8 miles of trail, ripping back down, having just a fun time, all smiles all the way.
Right.
So what that does is that's one of the key pieces of trail infrastructure Redding is lacking. So when you look at most real big mountain bike trail destinations, they almost always have the opportunity for a really fun shuttle experience. Not always, but it helps a lot. Like Downeyville,
Right.
Moab has huge shuttles. So if we're able to build that and add that to our catalog of trails, even though Lakehead's 20 minutes, anything within like a 30-minute drive from the heart of Redding is considered our trails, so to speak. So what it would do for us is amazing. And then I really think it would be a really good benefit for that local community because all they have is the lake. And if it's a bad lake year, why are people going to Lakehead?
Right.
So I think people from Redding and the I-5 corridor, people driving up north or down south, easy stop for them to get a couple laps in, stay, have a burger at the Bass Hole. And or just combining boat recreation with mountain biking.
Right. Give something for everybody. I mean, looking at vacations.
So that's kind of been a dream of ours. We applied for a large planning grant that would get that project shovel ready. And unfortunately, we didn't get that grant. It was to the tune of about $300,000. But we're always finding ways to move things forward.
So adding to the trail catalog, maintaining what we got, keeping great relationships with the public entities and the stakeholders. And then how do people get involved? Everything from that you've mentioned, volunteers, grant writers. I mean, how do people connect with the organization and get involved?
It's very easy. Shoot us an email.
Okay.
We're very transparent. When we started, and that's another thing we've grown with, when we started, we were just heads down doing what Redding Trail Alliance knew to do. Like we knew best, so to speak. We wanted to get our cool trails built. We've gone from that to being extremely transparent and also like listening to what the community wants. We've opened up a membership. Just over a year ago, we created a membership base. And so those members greatly help sustain Redding Trail Alliance from a financial point of view. But we also engage with them 4 times a year. We have membership meetings. They're invited to come, listen to what we have going on, and give us any feedback or input. But honestly, like we're as easy as a phone. Like my phone number is on the website. If people want to call me, I'll pick up usually if it's a 530 number.
And it's not in a podcast.
Yeah, and not on a podcast. We'll listen to anything anybody wants to say. I would rather they didn't call and complain about something because that hurts my feelings. Pretty sensitive.
Okay.
But people, it's easy to be involved. Just reach out and email, and we have over 500, probably close to 550 people on our volunteer email list. So when we're working, primarily, like my season's just wrapping up now, but when we're out building or maintaining trails, we typically send out email on Sunday that just tells people what we're doing. Like, hey, Monday through Friday, we're going to be doing this. You're welcome to join us. And then every once in a while, we're able to host a Saturday event day, volunteer day, get people out. Those typically will have between 10 and 13 people come out. Some of our bigger ones have been about 20 people. It's easy to get involved. But the biggest way, if you are a person that uses the trails or even just values what the trails do for our community, is become a member. It's easy. You don't even have to think about what you're doing. It's an app. You sign up. We have a monthly fee if you want to go that route, or you could do yearly. It's as cheap as $5 a month. So, like, to put it in perspective, if you use trails twice a month, which is pretty low, you're paying $2.50 every time you go out. Like that's nothing.
That's
People
you can't get a cup of fancy coffee for $5.
No, you can't. And people, I think nothing about paying $6 for a cup of coffee. Nothing. I think nothing about paying $8 for a beer now.
Right.
And so the impact, if everybody that uses the trail recognizes the impact they could have if everybody helped, it could be insane. We could have a full-time maintenance crew just out there brushing trail. Like it would be next level. Like our flow trails could be maintained every year instead of every 3 years. Yeah, all the trails in Whiskeytown could be being built. Like it could move the needle on what Redding Trail Alliance is able to do significantly.
Right, and that's just getting enough people to commit at $5 a month. So let me make it.
Well, they have the opportunity to do more. That's the lowest.
Okay.
So let me break it down. And this is where I think it highlights how Redding, I'm going to say Redding is very generous. I've already talked about with the sponsorship for Lemurian, like
right.
$30,000.
That's fortune.
Yeah. So we have, I think we're at 175 members. I don't have the exact breakdown, but I will say our base level is $5 a month. And we really appreciate that because those are people that maybe weren't donating anything before. And now they're donating $60 a year. Like that's great. And it keeps us in touch with them. Like they can hear from us, we can hear from them. So the next level is that's the trail advocate. So then you have a trail steward, which is $20 a month. I am happy to say I'm a trail steward.
Okay.
So is Camille. And then you have the trail champion, which is $40 a month. And each of these levels, you get more benefits. Like a trail champion gets a free entry or maybe half off. I think a free entry into one of our events. Could just be 50. Anyway, but they get different. They get a jersey, they get a hat. The stewards get a hat, pair of socks. And then you have Trail Superheroes, which is $100 a month. Guess how many Trail Superheroes we have?
I'm hoping the number's big, but I'm going to say 0.
No, we have 15 people.
No way.
15 people that give $100 a month.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Insanely generous. And these are not super wealthy people. These are people that have a little bit of disposable income, a little bit, and they recognize and they love what we're doing, and they're stepping up to the plate.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And they made a decision for them and their households that $100 a month is more important than another streaming service. You know, because like the game of the streaming service was to convince everybody can get rid of cable for $10 a month. But then, of course, there's now
you're paying $150 a month.
Yeah, right. There's a dozen streaming services. They ditched streaming services for something that their kids and their family is always going to remember, and it's better for them, for their longevity, their well-being, their mental health. Everything's better about being outside.
And we get that feedback. That's like one of them. She told me, like, she's like, this is how I stay mentally healthy. Like my job's stressful, the trails are my outlet, and so $100 a month, like to her, it's a bargain.
Right.
And that's how, like, let's back it up to the $40 a month. Like, how much do you pay for a decent gym membership? It's at least $40 a month. So outdoor trails, they're free for access, but really they're not free. And so to have people understand that and become part of the solution, we hope more people hear this podcast and sign up.
Right, that's huge. Okay, so then you mentioned the website. What is it? What's the website?
ReddingTrailAlliance.org.
And what's the email address?
info@ReddingTrailAlliance.org. Nathan, not Nate.
Okay.
People call me Nate, but the email's a little bit more formal. So Nathan@ReddingTrailAlliance.org, or you can even email Camille@ReddingTrailAlliance.org.
Okay.
And we'll get back to you.
So,
there is no Owen at ReddingTrailAlliance.org.
Yeah, Owen doesn't type so hot.
No.
Paws are hard on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And I can say when I got connected to you through Dusty that everything you said has been completely true. Camille was back to me instantaneously. You were back to me. We were texting, we were emailing. I mean, it was really accessible. So everything you've said has been my lived experience as well. Have I forgotten anything about bringing information about this organization to light in our community?
No, I don't think you've forgotten anything, but one more thing I want to say that I've come to realize, because I've gone from just being extremely thankful, and I still am, but extremely thankful just to be able to do what we do, to acknowledging the value that Redding Trail Alliance brings to our community. And so I just want to highlight one other aspect of a really high quality trail system is that quality of life, or that vibe that it creates in our community. And Redding's changed so much in the last 10, 15 years. I mean, downtown, it's a thing now.
Right.
I love it. Our trail system, it's becoming world-class. We still have a ways to go, but we can get there. And when you create that quality of life, when you have big companies like Dignity that want to attract, skilled workforce here, doctors, engineers, I was talking to somebody, and pretty much people will choose to live here and work at a company like that for usually two reasons. One, they have roots here, so they're coming back to be with family, or two, they are an outdoor enthusiast. And there's a high chance that trails are involved in that outdoor enthusiasm. I mean, yes, we have rivers, lakes, fishing, skiing, backpacking, but trails are an important piece of that infrastructure. So I have come to recognize the value our organization brings, because unfortunately the land managers aren't going to be building, they aren't going to be maintaining, they don't have the capacity to. So if people want to see new stuff happening, they want to see the stuff that we have well maintained, the reality is an organization like ours has to be in existence and thriving.
Completely agree. We've been in business, my business partner and I, 17 years. And if we hire somebody who does not have roots in the community or who is not an outdoor enthusiast, they're with us 2 years and gone. Because they go back to wherever there is. And that makes sense, right? Mom, dad, siblings, whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to add law in that industry. Yeah.
But I mean, that's
skilled workforce.
That's been completely true. On the other hand, if somebody likes the outdoors, they stay.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work you're doing. And I hope that this podcast has put the bug in the ear of a number of people, because that thriving system out there is good from top to bottom in the community. Really appreciate you.
I really appreciate you having me on here. And there's one more thing I want to say. I feel like I've probably dogged on the bike industry, but if any of my peeps at bike shops are listening, I love you all.
Local bike shops are champs.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're great people. I know the bike industry is struggling, but yeah, we really appreciate our local bike shops.
Agreed. Thanks for your time, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care.